Hello everybody, welcome to the channel. This video is for those of you starting off on your fishing journey. Having had a tackle store for a number of years, we had clients come to us from all over the world in all walks of life, and they either wanted to replenish their gear or else take up fishing. So this video is for anybody starting off on your fishing journey. So I'm going to break it down into three parts. The first one I'm going to do now is the parts of a reel. The second one we're going to do is how to fill it with line, and the way we do it helps reduce line twist. It was the way it was shown to us many years ago, and we've always done it the same way. The third video, then we're going to put all the stuff together and tie on some lures, and maybe in the fourth one then show you how to cast. The third one we're also going to add an item that really helps prevent the line twist. It's an old item that we used to use a long time ago. Not sure if they're made anymore, but I have a couple of these and I'll show you what they are. Anyway, to begin with, this is a spinning reel. So some of these come in front drag, rear drag. This is a front drag reel, okay, that's what that means. And this one is a rear drag reel, so it's got the drag on the back of it, this thing. So this is the drag system, all right, and I'll show you what that does now. So I'm just going to pop this over here for a second. So I'm going to go through parts of the reel. First thing we have is the handle. That's this thing here. That's the handle of the reel. These then, most reels are ambidextrous, meaning you can screw off this part, unscrew the handle, put it on this side. So instead of being a left hand wind, it's now a right hand wind. We find that the fella with the right hand cast will wind it with his left hand, and the opposite, obviously, if the fella casting with his left hand, will wind it with his right hand. All right, so this is the anti-reverse lever, which is this thing back here. This makes the reel go forward and backwards. We always kept it locked. I remember years ago people used to back wind into fish. So when a fish was running, instead of using the drag, they back winded. And unfortunately, I did see a guy one day, he hooked a salmon about 10 pounds. The fish took off at speed. This thing spun so fast it hit him in the knuckle. It was sore, he said, for the day. He got his fish though, but it's easier to use the drag system. I will show you that in a few moments. This is the bail arm. So this traps the line and it frees the line. So when you're casting out, you hold the line between the rod and and the reel. You hold the line between, the reel and the rod. Lift back the bail arm so that frees the line. You cast, letting go your finger, line shoots out. To trap it, you just flick that back, or you can turn the handle. It does either way. And then you just wind it like this. Now, this particular reel has 9 ball bearings on it, and it's actually a saltwater reel, but I'm going to use this for fishing for trout. It's a nice size, it's a 4,000 size. They come with spare spools that you can purchase separately. The drag system, I'll go through that. The roller system, there's a little roller here on the bail arm. These have to keep rolling, obviously, and that helps the line go through quite easily and go on the spool. What you have to remember is these rollers always have to be moving. If they stiffen up or get jammed, what happens is the line in turn will cut a hole or a groove in the roller. If that happens, that groove will in turn tear the line and wreck it. So you should always make sure the rollers are spinning, and if there's a groove cut into it, you replace that roller, because it just will cut into the line basically. Same with the rod rings. You periodically have to check the rod rings are not cracked, because if they are cracked, what's going to happen is they're going to cut the line, and then you're back to square one. It's like a catch-22 situation. These are just things you have to watch for. The top rings can get broken quite easily, and that's the big problem. All right, so what else we got here then? We have the drag system, which I'll go through for you in a moment. I said to you there's 9 ball bearings to this, so it's pretty smooth. And gear ratio, this one is a 5.2 to 1, and that means every time you turn the handle 1 revolution, like that, 1 time. So I'll start up here, all right, and I turn it once. That means 5.2 to 1. The rotating head spins around 5.2 times. So that's a pretty quick retrieve reel. And that just takes a bit of practice, whether you want to spin high, spin low, spin fast, spin slow. This one is a fairly fast retrieve, so we just spin slowly with it, basically, all right? Now the drag system, that's very important. There's a little line clip here as well that holds the line in place when you're after filling the reel, just keeps it tidy and out of the way. I will show you how to put on the line in our next video coming up after this one. I want to keep the videos short so you can kind of check them out whenever you want, all right? So This one, I'm going to take off the line like that, and the drag system, very simply, I have this set to pull it like this. Now I'm using a bit of pressure there, so very simply what the drag does is, if you hook a fish, like you hook a 4-pound trout, the last thing he wants to do is just give himself up and come in. He wants to run and get away. Now if you have this drag system very tight and locked, he can't pull line, so the line will either snap or you'll just hook, the hook will come out of the fish. So the trick is to let him pull line under pressure. Now that's set like that. I know that that's it. Just takes a bit of practice using it, but that's plenty. And just that's perfect. Obviously, if I'm fishing for salmon, I'd be using a heavier line, maybe 15 pounds break and strain, and we tighten the drag even a little bit more. So it's a bit too tight for that now, but I would just loosen a little bit for the trout. So that's what the drag does. All right. The rear drag reel, it's the same thing, but you operate it back here. So now the rear drags are popular. The front drag I prefer because it's the old style, and I'm happy with the old style. I like the old style stuff. So that's basically it, the parts of a reel. Oh yeah, this is the main housing, of course, and this is the foot. Now this is the part that goes on to the rod. So it sits in the reel seat, and you tighten the reel seat. We'll show you that on the third video, because the second one we're going to show you how to put the line on. Right, another thing to do is changing the spool. Right, this button here, we unscrew this button on the front, and that's also the drag knob. So you take that off, and all you do very simply is hold it there, lift the spool clean off. That's all it is. Put on your other spool if you're using maybe a heavy pound breaking strain line. For example, if you're after pike or salmon, you'd probably up it to maybe 15 pounds breaking strain and use that. All right. This reel would just about cover it, I suppose, but if it depends on the species you're after. The reel you'd have to use maybe a slightly bigger reel, which would be better. Anyway, you push this back here, as I said, which is the drag knob. This is the thing that you adjust the drag with. Another thing to do at the end of the season is you can get a screwdriver, take off the handle and take off this plate and put in some reel grease. It's easy to do, really. Just make sure you don't lose any of the nuts and bolts. You could do it in a little cardboard box. That's what most of us would do, and that way you won't lose any parts. Put some reel grease in. It's very good to grease the reels, leave them there for the year when you're not using them, basically. And as I said, the size of the fish species you're after will dictate how big the reel you need. But once you can spin fish, you can just use a bigger system for fishing for pike or salmon, and a bigger one again for in the sea. So learning to spin is really, I think, a fantastic way to begin fishing. Years ago here in Ireland, we learned using worms. Can't use worms anymore now, so most of us will be spinning, or most of you guys starting off will be spinning, I guess. And if you want to progress something a bit more intricate, you could go fly fishing, but there's a bit more to it than that. But it is a wonderful way to spend an evening, I'll tell you, fly fishing for trout. So basically that's the parts of a reel, and thank you for watching, and tune in for our next video coming up now.